Most people say that the unification of Europe is unrealistic, that a European federation will never happen, but the funny part is that we keep doing federation things anyway, and a lot of it is pretty recent. In the last years, we've moved towards joint borrowing and shared debt tools. We've coordinated massive sanctions packages like a single geopolitical actor. Step by step, crisis by crisis, Europe keeps acting more like one state. For the simple reason that the geopolitical threats around us are forcing us to act as one strong superpower instead of 27 powerless nation-states. So how about, instead of bickering about whether everyone is ready, instead we simply create a federation of the willing, a multi-layered Europe with different tiers of integration, where the countries that want deeper unity move forward first and everyone else can join later or stay in their respective tiers. Hey Slavic Vikings, and this idea is called a tiered EU system, and I believe this is a necessary stepping stone towards full integration, and in this video I'll explore this topic. Sorry if my voice sounds weird, but anyway. The idea of a layered Europe or a multi-tier Europe is today most strongly associated with the President Emmanuel Macron of France. Not because he invented it, the concept goes back decades, but because he is the most prominent EU sitting leader openly arguing that Europe should integrate at different speeds instead of waiting for unanimous agreement. Macron has repeatedly argued in major speeches that Europe should allow groups of countries to move forward together when others are not yet ready. In his Sorbonne Vision speech of Europe, for example, he said that different levels of integration are necessary so that the most ambitious states can advance without being blocked. In other words, if some countries want deeper union, they shouldn't have to wait for everyone else. Macron is a pragmatic integrationist, not an ideological federalist publicly, because the concept of a federal Europe scares away many voters in most countries, and on that level of politics, you need to play the game. But what does a layered Europe actually mean in practice? So, for example, the first layer would be simply the European community and friends. Then we have layer 2, associate membership. This tier is for countries that want real integration but aren't ready for full EU membership yet. So this second layer is not really a place you want to be. It's more for countries that want deeper integrations but don't fulfill all the factors that the EU requires, like democracy, free trade, etc. So then we move on to layer 3, the layer that we currently have, and that is the European Union. So the current EU as we know today. But then we come to the exciting part, layer 4, the inner union. So this is the federal core, the countries willing to integrate the furthest and fastest. So here, the countries, or should I say states, will have coordinated fiscal policy and potentially shared budget tools, deeper Eurozone-style financial integration, joint defense planning and procurement, major votings in key strategic areas instead of unanimity, fully integrated energy and infrastructure systems, and shared crisis borrowing and stabilization mechanisms. So this layer would act like a proto-federation inside Europe. And this layer 4 of the inner union is the most important thing that needs to happen if we want a full federation. Then we can move to layer 5 with the countries in the inner union, where we'd simply change some technicalities and bureaucracy, and the countries in the 4th layer would become one country called the Federal Europe. And this layered Europe, especially with the emphasis on creating this inner union of layer 4, is the most realistic and best way to move towards the United States of Europe.